And pretty much also from Pakistan as well. They said the same thing, like, yo, you guys were supposed to release your naval blockade, you didn't. Now Iran's closing back down the strait. So it's kind of funny how people sit here and try to lie and say that, oh, no, Iran broke the ceasefire. No, we broke the agreement through not removing our naval blockade. And then we really started this by shooting at ships and seizing them. And then when Iran sees it, start seizing ships, we're like, oh my God, the crazy mullahs. It's like, bro, you know, we started this, right? We started this whole war, actually. So you know that, right? Well, or conflicts. You know, some people don't want to say it's a war. But all right, though, let's go over to our guys over here at PBD, and then we're going to get into the interview with the CIA analysts.
This morning at 4:25, Iran's attack at around the Strait of Hormuz, 3 ships, 2 of them they seized. One is a Panamanian ship, one is a ship from Greece. That we have different names for them as well, Rob. You can pull it up. Yeah, those are the ships. So while this happened, you know, this morning, if you look at the market oil prices, if you want to go to it, it's up a little bit. It's 91.37. There's not been a negative reaction to this yet. The president came out yesterday, and I believe he said indefinitely the what do you call it? The ceasefire continues indefinitely, but not a date. And so we don't know when it's going to stop. We don't know when is this it, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go for it. Play this clip, and then we'll get right into it.
So to be clear, you're saying that you need at least the prospects for a signed deal today and tomorrow, or else you would resume bombing Iran.
Well, I expect to be bombing because I think that's a better attitude to go in with. But we're ready to go. I mean, the military is raring to go. They are absolutely incredible. You know, I built the military in my first term. I'm using it now. The military, when I took it over from Barack Hussein Obama, they had it was so depleted, so sad. And I built it in my first term. You remember those big numbers. You talked to me about it once. That's a lot of money for military. I built it. We did a great job with our military. And we're using it now.
Yeah, but if you told us you were going to war with Iran, so you're going to build the military, trust me, Trump, you wouldn't have won that election. Like, honestly.
And
so
rebuilding it too.
We know it's indefinitely. Sean Hannity said, based on some intel, I think, Rob, if you got that clip, that at any point, you know, attack could happen. Go for it, Rob.
And welcome to Hannity. Tonight, we start with this Fox News alert. Now, new reporting tonight, sources telling me that the ceasefire extension in Iran announced by the president, that will be short-lived unless a deal is reached quickly. Now, earlier today, the president announced that American strikes will not yet resume, and he will allow peace negotiations to continue. According to my sources, mostly this was out of respect for the Pakistani mediators and as a final push for peace for the war-torn Iranian people. The president is also giving more time to Iran's regime to attempt to coordinate and actually communicate with each other.
Tom, what do you think is going on here?
So what I think is going on is the president is doing what he always does. Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. This is what I think, maybe I won't. I think this is literally a day-by-day ceasefire. He's trying to keep them unbalanced. And unfortunately, they said that Vance was pulled back. I guess he's not going to the next, the previous public, what did they say? They previously, they had made a public statement about what the next negotiation would be. So that's the one where we can see them all at the table and we see the media talking about it. But there's things going on behind closed doors. I think Trump's trying to keep them off balance. I think he's trying to get a deal done. I think Witkoff is working in the background. But the public, you know, everybody sits at the big, beautiful table and everything. That's not happening tomorrow, Thursday, and Vance was pulled back.
There you go. David, your thoughts?
Well, the question is, who are the Americans talking to? Like, who's the Iranian delegation and who's in charge in Iran right now? Because my sense is that it's not the clerics, it's the IRGC. And they are definitely hardened. So,
yeah, bro, guess what? All the clerics that we killed, Ayatollah and all that good stuff, yeah, all replaced by ex-IRGC members, bro. All of them replaced by ex-IRGC members. Actually, the current Ayatollah is ex-IRGC. Actually the IRGC wanted him to be Ayatollah because he has really close ties to them. So we're filling all the moderates that we took out are being filled by, well, radical IRGC members. So I'm sorry, but the regime change we got was a more radical regime.
You know, my thoughts are this. I think the bombing campaign is over. I think that Trump pays attention to the stock market, and I think he's paying attention to the public opinion polls. And I think he has to take note of the fact that his MAGA base is starting to deteriorate in terms of the support for the war. So I think he's looking for an off-ramp. And I think that we're just further in this age of disinformation. It's not just the Iranians, but it's also, you know, what we're hearing out of Truth Social. I mean, we were bombarded with no fewer than 7 messages from his social media account last Friday. And next thing you know, the Dow was up 1,000 points. It's hard to know where this leads. I think that I agree that I think Trump is looking for an off-ramp. We don't know what sort of deal are we really expecting, because the Iranian list of demands and the U.S. list of demands, there's no overlap. You know, as I go through this in my head, I'm there thinking that Trump, I don't think he can bomb anymore. I think it's a classic case of Einstein's definition of insanity. Like, where's the bombing? What's it going?
I mean, let's be real. Like, they got a lot of underground cities where they keep these missiles. So if we really want to take care of their missile and drone, you know, capabilities, we got to put boots on the ground and secure those underground facilities that they keep inside mountains, by the way.
To accomplish that hasn't accomplished. Right now, what Iran has found out is that it has an economic engine that it can stranglehold the world through the strait. I think a lot of us already knew that, because it's not the first time this has happened, but on this scale. So you have a situation where, as you mentioned about the strikes by Iran on those ships in the strait, they're demonstrating that they're still in control. And the U.S. still has this blockade.
But does this break the ceasefire by them attacking those 3 ships? I mean, if you're talking ceasefire,
that's really up to Trump, right? You would think that it would break the ceasefire. You would think that Hezbollah, which wasn't mentioned, I think just sent a few rockets into northern Israel. Did that break the ceasefire? So this is almost you know, very loose definitions. It's clear to me, firstly, that Trump wants an off-ramp. We just don't know who he's talking to, who's in charge in Iran, and what any deal is going to look like. Because how can we walk away from this war with the Iranians still having those 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium? And how do we walk away with Iran not abandoning its nuclear ambitions? I don't really know how Donald Trump is going to wiggle his way out of this. I think in the end, what he wants to do is walk away and declare victory on his terms. And then the Iranians are going to declare victory on their terms. And my biggest concern is, do we just end up back where we were with Barack Hussein Obama and the deal that he struck in 2015? Do we just end up right back there? And that's all this damage.
Are you speculating, or you're thinking we're going to end up there where we're going to
always,
20 billion?
I'm always scenario building. You know, there's a wide range of outcomes, but you have to have a base case scenario. You know, the thing is that Trump is under a lot of domestic political pressure. I think he's coming under some pressure in his own party. We have the midterm elections, all these things that Iran doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And then we have to consider all along, you know, how we've come to this place. And this isn't like a war over land. This is a war over radical ideology and fanaticism. This is a different sort of war. You know, when we had the Cold War with Russia, it wasn't really dealing with anybody.
And you know what he's really explaining here is like, one, how is Trump going to get out of this? He can't get Iran to give up their nuclear enrichment program, nor their nuclear stock. Well, their enriched uranium stockpile. He can't get them to give that up. Of course, he can't get no complete surrender. He can't get a regime change. I mean, he's not getting anything that he wants out of this Iran war. But I mean, honestly, not anything at all. I mean, what are we getting? We're spending $2 billion a month, not a month, $2 billion a day on this. We haven't made any progress. We're seeing higher gas prices and inflation's ticking up because of this war. So once again, I keep asking MAGA, please substantiate how this war is good for the American people. And please don't say, oh, well, you want Iran to have a nuke? Well, guess what? They don't got a nuke. And nor do they have a nuclear program. So, I mean, that's nipped in the butt. I mean, can you substantiate why this war is America first? Substantiate why it's good for the people. You can't. All you can sit there and do is just what? Throw insults and try to call me a lib? Which, I mean, whatever, but you still don't have an argument.
Who was irrational. Khrushchev was not irrational. Now, that wasn't religious ideology. That you could argue that was more economic ideology. But you were dealing at least with rational actors. And this time around, you're dealing with irrational actors, and you're dealing with a regime that has no value on human life, even the human life of their own population, as we've seen. So I think the template you want to look back to, and this is what I would advise the president if I was there, is just, know what you're getting into here. Because from 1980 to 1988, Iran and Iraq fought an 8-year war. Now, Saddam Hussein wanted to create a buffer. You could argue that was partly about land, but it was also about ideology, because it was right after the revolution. And Hussein was very concerned that this radical ideology was going to spread into Iraq. After year 2 of that war, Saddam Hussein actually offered an olive branch to the Ayatollah to end the war, to call for a permanent truce. Iran walked away. And the war lasted another 6 years.
Yep.
Over 500,000.
Oh, and just a little bit. And then if you don't know, yeah, we also supported Saddam. Pretty much we supported Saddam during his war on Iran. We supported him along with the Gulf countries to pretty much try to take out Iran. It didn't work. We also, our CIA helped this guy procure chemical weapons to gas the Iranians. Didn't work. So here's the crazy, and this is kind of one of the reasons why they say death to America, because, they know we did this. We've been kind of messing with these guys since the 50s onwards. And this is one of the reasons why they yell death to America, because of our constant interference in their government. And of course, in the 50s, we try to pretty much play them on their resources.
And deaths. So that's what we're dealing with right now. So there's a wide range of outcomes. I think that what's obvious to me, I mean, this is now, what is a deadline right now? What's a deadline? Now the deadline is over, and now it's basically, there's no timeline attached. What does that tell us?
What's ideal for you, in your opinion? Would what you just?
Well, I'm, I'm pretty hardcore. I'm in the John Bolton camp. Okay.
Oh, really?
That absolutely, because I think that, you've got to you've got to finish what you started. What was the goal? The problem I have is that President Trump says, well, we did achieve regime change.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a lot of information right there. He's going to say we actually got one of the things that we wanted, which was regime change, but we got a worse regime. And then he says, well, these are more reasonable people than we had before. Well, I don't really think so. And then it's a matter of what people have to know is that it's the Revolution Guard are the ones really in control.
Yeah.
And they're hardened.
Like, bro, the moderates that we were dealing with before have all been replaced with, IRGC members. That was the line of succession, was to have the moderates be replaced by hardliners.
I think that you got to finish what you start. And I think that the ultimate goal was really to get that 60% enriched uranium out of Iranian hands and to permanently end their nuclear ambitions. Now, the reality is that you actually would need to have a new and more peaceful regime to do that. I think that's next to impossible. The question is, because when you think about what the spark was the uprisings that we saw, the popular uprisings back in January. And how do you incentivize? I mean, now you could actually argue that the Iranians were prepared because they killed, let's say the number is 30,000. Now the Iranian population is scared to go out and do it again. And that to me is really, when you're talking about regime change, I think that that always should
I
have.
mean, no, they're being hunted. No, that's the problem. The protesters that we gave guns to, that we convinced to go out in the street and start burning down mosques and, you know, shooting at police and all this good stuff and hacking them to death. Yeah, you know, that protest that we funded, or that revolution that we tried to fund, yeah, all those guys are now on the run. And if they get caught, they're going to get hung. And I mean, if that's the type of help that Trump was talking about, they could have did without it.
Been the goal, because when you think about how do we end this nuclear ambition, I think that nuclear bomb in Iranian hands is a danger for the entire world. How do you accomplish that? And then you look at history. How do you change regimes? You don't do it from the outside. You do it from the inside. And what you need to do is you need to get to a place where the army, the regular army, I'm not even talking about the IRGC, I'm talking about the regular army. There's 1 million of them. Now, I don't know. I'd like to hear, what I'd like to hear is that that's who Wickoff and Jared Kushner and Vance are talking to. Are there back channels into the actual regular Iranian army? Because when you look at previous revolutions, King Louis XVI, the revolution was successful only when the army turned their back on the king.
That hasn't happened yet.
No, when you look at Nicholas II, okay, it's only when the army realized that their survival was at stake that they abandoned.
How do you
the
get
Tsar.
there? How do you get there?
Well, I sort of
because you gave the weapons to Kurds, they kept.
Yeah, no, I agree with that though. And here's the thing: not like I don't want regime change in Iran. Like, I don't really care. I mean, if that's what's best for the Iranian people, then they'll let them do it on their own. I mean, I believe we did enough when we pretty much destroyed their currency and they was at the government's neck over that. We should have just left it alone there, instead of getting all the way involved and now trying to force regime change through military actions, which we said we weren't trying to do in the first place. But now Trump is saying, oh, it's a goal we didn't expect to hit that we didn't really hit.
So it's not like they're passing it to the people.
I like that. I like that idea, but Turkey shot it down. And you know, I mean, there's always risks about having a revolution, and you'll create this political vacuum. And let's face it, Iran is not a homogeneous society. But the thing is that, how do you incentivize the people and the army to turn against the clerics? And to me, you know, that's why, look, the whole notion of bombing power plants and bridges, or even, you know, using the strait, the blockade, to block food imports and medical supplies. And then there's all sorts of commotion and noise around, well, would the U.S. be breaking international law? Well, never mind about all the international laws that the Iranians have broken. But you see, there's just more political pressure.
But here's the thing, see, and that's what kills me. It's always about, well, what about them? I'm just like, all right, so what? Do we just lower ourselves to the Iranians' level? Like, you call these guys terrorists, and you're pretty much saying we should lower ourselves to the level of terrorists, and also start committing war crimes willy-nilly, right? That's what we should start doing, right? That's cool. I mean, then I'm telling you, we lose all moral ground then at that point. I mean, you might as well just say F international law, and Russia, what Russia's doing in Ukraine is okay because might makes right. What if China decides to take Taiwan? Shut the fuck up because might makes right. Like, if that's the world you want to live in, cool, but don't complain when other countries start exercising that ability as well.
On Trump. But, you know, the thing is that, and this is going to sound pretty radical, and I don't want to sound mean. I'm not a mean person, but the question is, how do you incentivize the Iranian people into another uprising, which they did in January, but now they have fear because they know that the government are going to kill them.
The problem, though, not really, because in January it was manufactured. And what I mean by manufacturers, we had a bunch of Mossad and CIA running guns to the protesters and also giving them Molotovs and all this good stuff to burn down, you know, mosques, not civilian infrastructure, but you know, civilian cars and houses and all that good stuff. So yeah, there were some bad actors in those protests. And it stopped being about the government or protesting the government and started being about destroying property for some reason. I mean, there was even people like I said, it was literally like protesters, and this was the worst part about it. Protesters who got armed with guns shooting at the police and the IRGC, and the IRGC are also shooting back at the protesters, and there are unarmed protesters in the middle of them getting shot from the front and the back. And that was pretty much being reported in Iran from protesters inside there. So yeah, we didn't really help them out like that at all whatsoever. And the guys who stood up to protest are now being executed one by one. So did we really help them out? No, we didn't. Do we really care about the freedom of the Iranian people? Well, our government sure don't, and neither does Trump. I mean, Trump definitely don't. And do I? No, not really. But I mean, God bless them. I hope they do finally get to a more free government, but let them do that on their own with no help.
Yeah.
I always thought the Kurds were at least a good start. It would be actually a very good distraction to the Revolutionary Guard.
Yeah.
Can Mossad or the IDF get involved? I don't know. They're under a short leash themselves.
They're for sure involved. I mean,
but they're also under they're under Trump's control as well. To me, that would be the most effective end game. How it's accomplished. Look, I don't claim to be a military expert. I'm an interested observer, but I would say that without regime change, nothing's going to change. And then it's a matter of how you accomplish it. Would you accomplish it through, say, real boots on the ground? Like you'd need you'd probably need a million troops.
Brandon, what do you think? It'll be interesting. What do you think yourself?
I mean, I agree, and that's why I said a week or two ago, I said I think they should use an Iran-Contra model. I mean, any revolution that's ever happened, it's been through rebel groups, through militia groups that the CIA or Mossad type of group helps organize and helps them get together and helps smuggle weapons to them. But that doesn't exist in Iran. There's no organized militia or rebel group. And that's really how an uprising could actually happen. Like, right now it's just a bunch of people without weapons that get slaughtered by the government when they organize in public. So I agree. There really is no off-ramp with this in terms of changing leadership in an effective way. Like no matter what, even if you take out the guy who's in charge right now, somebody just like him from the IRGC is going to be put in his place. And until that whole mindset or that whole IRGC regime is gone, then it's the same situation, probably even worse. So even if we do agree to a deal, there's not an off-ramp that exists with the same group. And I just looked it up, actually. 31% of the military is part of the IRGC, but the IRGC does control all the military weapons. So that's what that looks like in that regard. But it's a bad situation because I don't see what that option is to totally eliminate it, because it's not like they're in one place. It's not like it's one group of small group of people.
But saying you're extending the ceasefire indefinitely, and then these guys break the ceasefire
immediately,
and they're saying we did not. They're saying we're enforcing the law because they're acting as if they created new laws. So because of that, they're enforcing new laws. So I was like, we didn't do anything wrong. We're just kind of doing our part. This is not breaking a ceasefire. But in a way, Iran is trying to say is, look, they're not showing they're real players. Not real players. They're not showing they're ethical players here.
Oh, they're not.
So if that's the case, what do you do? So if his position is, well, Trump wants to get out of this because he's paying attention to the market. Market's doing better. Everything is up. Earnings are coming through really good. Numbers are coming through really good. People are pretty optimistic. The market, I don't know where S&P is today, was at 7,000. And hey, but that's a different story between Main Street and Wall Street. S&P's at 71.49 right now. Okay, up almost 3/4 of a point. So, but if he goes back and attacks, let's just say we hear the news, boom, we're bombing again. What happens to the market?
Bro, completely tanks, and gas prices probably skyrocket up to $110 a barrel for probably the first week or so. Then if we keep going at it, it's going to get to 120, and it's going to get even worse and worse and worse.
2 to 3% adjustment.
Yeah, it goes back the other way. S&P goes back down to 69.
Yeah. So, but if he's gonna do it, Iran's telling you we're not ethical negotiators.
Right.
This guy who was
whoa! I don't think we're ethical negotiators. In all honesty, and I wish we were, but we can't sit there and tell these guys that, yo, you open up the strait, we'll remove the naval blockade, and everybody's cool, and then switch up. That's not ethical and that's not honorable. It's we're not ethnically handling this right. when it comes to the Iranians. I mean, if we're gonna promise them something, at least hold out with our word instead of trying to double back and be like, oh, we never promised that, or oh no, we're not doing that. This is what we're doing instead. I mean, you can't even sit there and use the ethical argument since we're the ones that's not fulfilling our promises.
Obama's, or I don't know, was he Obama's or Clinton's? Clinton's guy in 1996, he says Iran's never been an honest negotiator. They always lie. So what are you going to do now? You're dealing with somebody that's ethical now? Who knows? We don't do any major sponsorships on the podcast. You won't see us doing a podcast and announcing 7 sponsors. We haven't done that yet. We're talking to some big companies we'll entertain and have that. We have some things that we'll invest in. And if we do, we'll talk about it. There's certain companies I invest in. I'll gladly talk about it. But when it comes out to the Vol Conference, if there's one thing that I can tell you, it's 12,000 people in one room this year in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Arena.
Okay.
And a lot of business owners want to get in front of these qualified.
All right.